than my house.
Awesome. All right.
Para la luz,
Where are we
espérate.
going?
Se fue la luz.
Se me fue la luz acá.
Oh,
De verdad, Carlos.
Sí, pero tengo el battery.
All right.
Si quieres, puede venir a mi casa.
Hello. If you are here and you want to learn about Puerto Rico, then you are in the right spot. This is Culture Dive, Trip Scout Nation's opportunity to educate us all on different cultures. Today, we're diving into Puerto Rico. We have some locals, natives here to join us on our panel to share their insights on the culture, traditions, food, travel tips, all of it. So I am very happy to be joined by these three panelists. I'm going to turn it over to them to have them share with you a little bit about who they are and why they are passionate about Puerto Rico. Let's start with you, Yos. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Yosiat Jim Bernard. You call me Yosi. And I'm originally from San Juan, Puerto Rico. I now live in San Francisco. And my favorite Puerto Rican tradition is Christmas Eve with my family. And I don't know if we want to talk about the Christmas tradition in Puerto Rico because it's the longest in the world, but Christmas Eve specifically in Puerto Rico, with the food, with the music, with bringing baby Jesus back to the manger, lots of things happening is my favorite tradition.
Yeah, let's definitely dive into that after the introductions for sure. And Ray, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Raymond Maldonado, and I was born and raised here in Puerto Rico, in San Juan, the capital. And what can I say? This is, for me, I've never get bored of Puerto Rico. It's just paradise, you know, always beautiful weather. Yeah, it's a tropical island, so it's rainy, sunny every day. And there's so much to do and explore. So hopefully we can share some insights on you all. And any questions, feel free to ask. And we're here to share anything we can with you guys.
And last but not least, Carlos.
Hi, my name is Carlos Rivera. I'm born in the west side, in Mayagüez, Puerto Rico. My favorite parts to the island is it's the same. The Christmas. Joseph. ¿Cómo se llama él?
Josia.
¿Verdad?
Josia.
I'm sorry. Christmas, me gusta mucho las Navidades. ¿Me escucho bien?
Sí.
Sí.
Sí. He enjoys Christmas a lot, just like Josia.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Carlos. And thank you to you if you're joining us live or if you're watching this as a recording. Make sure that if you have any questions about Puerto Rico for these guys, throw them in the comments below and we'll try and get to them. And so let's get started. Let's talk about Christmas, guys. Why not? It's almost Christmas, right? It's 2020. It should be Christmas. So tell us, what about it that you love?
I think for me personally, Christmas is a representation of the best of Puerto Rico. Number one, it's in December, so it's not as hot as it is in the summer. Number two, it highlights all the aspects of our culture with food, with music, with arts, everything. I think it's the best of Puerto Rico on showcase for about a month, for a month and a half, 2 months almost, in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, Christmas here is very long. People start decorating right before, pretty much after summer times. So probably right after Halloween, I think, right, Carlos?
Yeah. Man, for me, it's the best time because it's the family traditional food, and it's the best part because it's sentimientos. It's a feel.
The feelings.
Yeah. And the traditional music, del jíbaro, maybe it's the country music. It's all the best en ese tiempo. Pero se puede ¿cómo es que se dice? Ah,
¿En español?
sí, como que la Navidad es la bienvenida al verano.
Mhm.
So Christmas is like the welcoming to summer.
Mm, that's
Um,
perfect.
Christmas
what
here
is-
is more than,
Yeah.
it's not just December and then New Year's is over. No, Christmas goes on to January. Basically the whole tradition, because we do have what's called the Three Kings. And there's the 12 days right after the New Year's. So I don't know if Jose, you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, essentially, it's so January 6th is the day of the Epiphany. And then after that, we have another week and a half of festivities. And then if you're in San Juan, you have the Festival of St. Sebastian. So the party season pretty much continues on. And then you have Carnival in the beginning of February. So I will say that Christmas in Puerto Rico is a party that everyone enjoys that carries on through the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
So
That's amazing. So you would actually recommend it, because sometimes you go to places when you're traveling during the holiday seasons and it's so quiet because people are with their families, or and things like that, so it's not as lively. But you think, or you're recommending that for someone who's traveling, that it would be a good time or a
I
nice
think it
time
would be
to
a
go?
great time to go to Puerto Rico during the holidays, for
Yes.
sure. It's the high season. It's going to be a little bit more expensive. Everyone's escaping the snow. But it's also the time of year where there's always something going on. There's always a house party, there's always a concert, all within the context of Christmas, but a very specific Puerto Rican style Christmas.
Nice. And it sounds like, because it's such a festive time, the locals are out and enjoying themselves. So it would then seem that it's a great time for someone who's traveling to get to know locals, or be able to spend some time with them in enjoying something that's local
Absolutely.
culture.
One of my favorite memories is, well, Puerto Ricans, for the most part, are very friendly, welcoming people. That's, island people typically are. But we were in Culebra, which is a small island off the coast of Puerto Rico. So you have Culebra and Vieques. And Raymond, you were there, I think. And it was around New Year's time. And people were having a house party on the street. And they just invited us in. And we all sang songs. And it sounds a little cheesy the way I'm saying it, but there is a genuine feeling of, if there's a party on the street and the door is open, you are welcome to join in, say hello, and everyone will treat you like family.
It's exactly
That sounds
like
amazing.
that. If you come to visit Puerto Rico during the festive days, the holidays, especially November, December, January, and February, there's always going to be some festivals. If you come and you really want to get it deep inside the culture and meet people from different municipalities, I suggest, if you're staying in a hotel, get out of the hotel. The hotels always have parties, but if you really want to go deep inside the culture, go to Old San Juan, right? And then you can even Facebook. There's different municipals that have their own festivals. So try to go to those festivals. They're very cultural. There's a lot of arts and crafts, a lot of locals. There's a lot of artists here in Puerto Rico, and they sell their handmade work and everything. So, and the music is incredible. The
Yeah,
food is great also.
Raymond, if you want different ¿cómo se dice? Things, you need at the center to the island, because if in the center of the island, ¿cómo se dice? Se une con la agricultura.
Agricultura o con la cultura?
Se une con la agricultura.
So in the center of the island, mainly in the center of the island, there's a big connection with the agriculture. So, ¿qué tú quieres decir?
Yeah.
No, I think I know. So in the center of Puerto Rico, it's divided the north and the south. There's a huge mountain range in the center. And in the center of the island, you bring together the cultures of the island with the culture of agriculture. So you have a lot of coffee grown, you have a cacao being grown, you have a typical music that's being played, and it encapsulates the heart of the island because it's in the middle of the island, in the mountains. And so what we would like for people to know about Puerto Rico is like, yes, the beaches are wonderful, and yes, the rainforest is magnificent. But if you're visiting the island during Christmas or during the holiday season, go to the center of the island. That's where you're gonna find the true soul of and the spirit of Puerto Rico, with the food, with the music, and just that atmosphere that is very well known. That culture of hospitality you'll find everywhere, but specifically during the holidays in the center of the island.
It goes to the roots of our tradition.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you meant, Carlos?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And perfect. And Carlos, feel free to just talk in Spanish, and you know, we have such a wide audience. I mean, we have plenty of Spanish speakers as well that will appreciate it. So
Okay, thank you.
just feel at home. We're just, you know, talking culture. It's the most cultural thing you could do.
Oh, perfect. I'm sorry. My English is it's not good.
No,
No puede hablar español.
my Spanish is horrible, so it's fine.
I don't know.
No,
It's the same field.
it's perfect. So are there any other traditions that you guys kind of miss or like look forward to when you're home or throughout the year? Or is there anything else that people should know about?
I think we should talk about the culture of chinchorreo and chinchon real.
Yeah. Chinchorreal y ¿cómo se dice esto? Como que para el jangueo. Puede ser también.
So Puerto Rico is very lively and very festive. I mean, I think we've already made that pretty clear. But it's not only the Christmas time, it's basically all year long. People go out on the weekends, and it's like bar hopping. But you know, you get in your car and you just go through the mountain range of the island or the shoreline, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you go to a bar, you have some fried food, some local beers, and just have a good time. You share, and then it's like, all right, well, let's go to the next bar, which is probably like a mile away, you know, and you just go bar hopping in your car and meeting new people, and it's just a very festive culture, you know. Everyone's a lot of people are very open to meeting new people and just sharing, you know, a lot of happiness and joy. I mean, that's what our culture is. So that's called what we call chinchorreos. And hangueo, well, it's hanging out basically. So we mix that together, and it's, you know, just be happy. Just got anything to say about that?
Yeah, it's an excuse. They're usually on the weekends, maybe Sundays, typically. And then you go on from place to place. You say, okay, let's hit up 3 places in this one town and then you just go with a little caravan with like maybe 3 cars, and then you just hit those places, and then you have a beer, you listen to some music, you have something to eat. It's typically fried, and then you hit up the next place, and then you can meet up with some guys that you know from the next town that are meeting you there. And what I want to emphasize is that it's just a culture of letting loose, sharing with friends. You can meet up with family, cousins, and exploring, going to a different part of the island. And Puerto Ricans, for us to have such a small island, we have a lot of places to go. And every town, and there's 78 municipalities on the small island. That's a lot. And every town has its own idiosyncratic thing, whether it's, you know, known for its seafood, or if it's known for the cool mountain breeze, or it's on the shore of this beautiful beach. Every town has something cool to offer. And Chincho Real is not only an opportunity to share with your friends and family, but it's also an opportunity to explore the island and see what's going on. And that's what I love about that cultural aspect of Chinchorreo and Chincho Real is the sharing part, but it's also the exploration part too.
So so basically we're touring. We could tour the whole island basically in the weekend and just, you know, eat food and drink and have a good time. Now, I'm not saying go out and drink and drive. Of course, we do not want that, and we prefer not to. You know, we want to avoid accidents. But if you want to, if all your friends or your family are gonna come and you really want to do that, there's also the option of there's these buses that they take groups of people just to do that. You know, you can get on a bus and they'll take you to basically a whole bunch of bars, whether it's inside the mountain range area or the shoreline. And I mean, you don't have to worry about driving there at all because, you know, they're driving you in a big bus with everyone just partying. They put music on, you have the windows down, you know, it's just, it's
like
good.
a booze cruise on wheels.
Exactly.
So you have a party bus taking you to the party.
It's a party bus, yes. So,
Exactly. Mira, y quiero añadirle, si quieres que me traduce, aparte de no de chinchorreo, las personas también lo utilizan para encontrar lugares nuevos dentro. Yo sé que lo mencionaste, pero para encontrar lugares nuevos, y esto da oportunidad pues, casi siempre a los pueblitos del centro de la isla que viven de esto mismo, del turismo y de que la gente los visite, porque su enfoque dentro del centro de la isla pues, es algo más de agricultura y viven de las personas que los visitan. Entonces también pueden encontrar en Orocovi el zipline más grande, uno de los más grandes del Caribe, que puede abundar de eso.
Sí. So basically, this form of hanging out, you know, going from bar to bars, helps tourism around the island also. It's a good way to explore the island. I think it's an excellent way to explore the island and just learn about different areas throughout the island. But it also helps tourism for the locals. A lot of the island, I mean, you know, we depend a lot on tourism, and there's a lot of local restaurants, small businesses, and a lot of arts, you know, artists that depend on that. So, I mean, if you go around the island, you're definitely going to enjoy it. You're going to meet a lot of incredible people. I mean, don't be scared. Find a good tour guide, talk to people, ask around. People here are very open to helping. And if you ask any Puerto Rican, basically like, hey, I don't know, what is there to do here? They're going to probably tell you a list of things to do. You know, they're going, oh, you got to go to a junque, to this place and that place. You should try this. And just get ready to write down because they're probably going to tell you a lot of things. If they don't invite you, a lot of times, maybe they invite you like, oh, this weekend we're going to go here and that. So, but there's also a place, it's a municipal close to, well, it's pretty much in the center of the island. It's called Orocovis. And what they do is, Carlos, ¿qué tú estabas diciendo? ¿La salchicha alemana?
No,
zip
the zip line.
But just say that part.
Well, no. So back to Raymond's point is this hanging out thing and exploring things allows us to not only explore the island, but also different points of interest, different attractions. Like in Orocovis, you have the longest zip lining course in the entire Caribbean, right? And so chinchorreando and basically bar hopping, for a lack of a better word in English, allows you to really not only see other parts of the island, but also explore different fun things that you otherwise would not have known existed.
It's amazing. One of the things I love about doing these dives is that you're getting information, I guess, that you can't necessarily Google, right? Like the stuff that you can't necessarily find on there. One of the reasons why I chose Puerto Rico, besides the fact that I love the island and I love you guys, is that I feel like it's a hidden gem in many ways, right? Because people know about Puerto Rico, or they know on the surface about Puerto Rico, but they don't. There's not really much out there about its, what the island has to offer sometimes, and especially we have this very global audience that reaches out, beyond our kind of northern and western hemisphere over to Asia and and Africa, and people are watching globally. I mean, what is it about Puerto Rico and its history? There's lots of twists and turns. What would you like for them to know about Puerto Rico and why they should go there?
Well, before we get to that, I would like to put Puerto Rico in perspective of maybe there's some people that, I mean, I've met people that don't even know about Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico is located in the Caribbean, right? And it's a small island. It's 100 miles by 35 miles, all right? And it's about 3 million, the population is about 3 million inhabitants. So just so you get an idea, it's well developed, and the transportation, there's ways to get all around the island. So just put it in context. So if you come to Puerto Rico, it's not just horses and carriages. You can rent out
No,
cars.
I mean, I don't think anybody thinks that. But you also have to put into context our relationship with the United States.
Yes.
And I feel like that's a defining feature of who we are. We are a nation. We are a country, but we're not a sovereign country. We're not an independent nation. We are a territory of the United States. That gives us U.S. citizenship, but there is no representation of Puerto Rico. Like, we don't have representation in the U.S. Congress, for example, nor can Puerto Ricans vote for the President of the United States. But Puerto Rico has a distinct culture. We speak Spanish. And what I would love everyone to know is that, yes, we have, Ricky Martin, and we have a lot of talent that comes from Puerto Rico that we export to the world with art and music and food. But we're also just as welcoming and normal as everyone else. I feel like sometimes people have these ideas of countries and there's an exoticism that exists, but we're normal, regular people that have, I feel like we have traditions and cultures just like everyone else. But I would like to say and invite everyone to come to check it out. Yes, we have beaches. Yes, we have mountains. Yes, we have great food and parties and everything else. But we're also, we also have philosophers and writers and playwrights, and it's a very multifaceted culture. And I feel that some things that people don't think about is the complexities of culture, right? Like, you can have a beautiful beach holiday in Puerto Rico and never once really understand our musical tradition or our literary tradition. And so, or perhaps our food or gastronomy, right? Except what you get at the hotel. So I would encourage anybody that wants to go to Puerto Rico to just scratch beyond the surface of a beach holiday.
I was literally thinking scratch beyond the surface in my head, and then you said it. I was like, yes.
But if you want a beach holiday, it's a great place to go.
Carlos, yes.
Quiero decir que, well, I have the political system is the same to the Washington D.C. It's a commonwealth. Puerto Rico is not the island; it's a archipelago. ¿Sabía eso? Puerto Rico is not the island.
It's an archipelago.
It's an archipelago. It's not the same.
It's true.
I have four islands. It's Vieques, Culebra, Isla de Mona, Desecheo. More island to the all around to the big island. Yep.
Yeah, I just learned something. Crazy. I mean, I kind of knew that, but then yeah, you're right. I just never put two and two together. That's amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, I love when I learn things. Perfect. So let's talk about then. Well, should we talk about the indigenous culture there? Because that was just kind of, I mean, it's new to me, and it's something, if we're going to scratch beneath the surface, I guess, something that maybe people might not be aware of, the Taino culture.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Carlos, I mean, do you want to talk about los Taínos?
Oh, wow. The Tainos is native indigenous. We living here after the Spain colony. Voy a decir español y que Raymond me... I'm speaking Spanish, Raymond,
Yeah.
Sí,
that
yo
thing.
se traduce,
Yo sé, en confianza.
por favor.
Los indios eran los nativos, vivieron aquí desde el siglo X, que ocuparon la isla. Vete traduciéndome.
Oh, so the Taínos are the original inhabitants of Puerto Rico. They have been living on the island for thousands and thousands of years, since the 10th century.
Entonces, se encontraron evidencia, ¿verdad?, de que aquí también hubieran vikingos, personas que vinieron a la isla pero no conquistaron.
So,
Y luego llegaron los españoles. Entonces,
no. So there's established culture here in Puerto Rico. You know, the Spanish came.
Entonces, luego de la conquista de los españoles, pues cayeron necesitaban mano de obra para trabajar, y para eso utilizaron esclavos africanos, y nuestra cultura se entrelaza, ya que pues, los nativos que vivían en la isla, los españoles y los africanos, pues hicieron de esto lo que somos hoy.
All right. So a quick history of Puerto Rico with the explanation of the Taino Indians, who are first inhabitants here. Spanish came. They were forced to work. They died off in thousands and hundreds of thousands due to disease and labor. African slaves were brought in to replace that labor pool. And there was essentially 4 or 5 centuries of everyone mixing, giving the modern Puerto Rican day person who has a little bit of Taino, a little bit of African, and a little bit of European. And it's the perfect melting pot is what we say. But the Taino Indians were responsible for giving us words like canoe and barbecue and hurricane, and these words that came into the English language because they were the first words to describe these things that the Spanish first encountered and brought them back to Europe. And thanks to them, we also have cassava, which is a typical yuca-based bread. And we have, lots of traditions of using the maracas and using the guiro, which is a rasping instrument that is part of the percussion of Puerto Rico. And so besides the fact that we all have Taino DNA in our blood, we also still have words in our language that reflect them, with bate and areito, and we still say huracán and casabe, and the names of our towns, Mayagüez and Loíza and Arecibo, Orobi, Naguabo, Yauco. All these words are native words from Puerto Rico. Guaraguao, the bird, that's a Taino word.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I thank you for sharing, only because I know it's unfair to ask anyone to put their country's history and cultural history in a nutshell. But I think it's just so important that at least people get an understanding of it so that they can maybe look it up themselves, but understand that there's more, like you said, Yosia, than pretty beaches, which are also very nice, but that there is a lot of culture there that defines who Puerto Ricans are, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right, so we are a travel group filled with a lot of explorers. So let's talk a little travel, guys. Where would you recommend people go? Off the beaten path, or things that they shouldn't miss? Any kind of tips on anything is more than welcome. There's so
Well,
many options.
That's
I have
tough.
10 place love it in Puerto Rico. This Guanica, Bosque Seco. This maybe it's a national park. I don't know. It's it's the same to the desert.
Desert.
Desert, yeah. Of the side on the beach. I like it. También tenemos ¿qué más? El Yunque. Yunque is the national park here. It's en el pueblo de Río Grande, ¿verdad? Luquillo, Río Grande, Luquillo. It's a rainforest. I like it. Yunque is in the national park. Castillo San Felipe del Morro is the national park. ¿Verdad? Y es uno de los it's all San Juan. It's beautiful. San Juan, Río Grande, Ponce. I like Ponce because Ponce had the big island que se llama Caja de Muertos. It's the name. It's the island. It's the same to the, ¿cómo se dice Caja de Muertos en inglés?
A coffin.
Yeah.
Coffin. Okay.
Yeah, it's the island.
It's literally called Coffin Island.
Yeah.
Hey, Sandy, I'm sorry, Carlos. Are you able to share my screen or no?
Yeah. Let me give you.
I would like to put the map, and while Carlos is speaking about these places, maybe point it out to the audience. I don't know.
Sure. Let me. Yeah, you guys can keep talking, and
okay.
I will.
Ajá, Carlos, sigue. Estaba hablando de Caja Muerto.
Exacto. Other place I love it here is in the middle. Calle. No voy a mencionar la montaña. Si quieren mencionarlo ustedes. Culebra. Culebra is the best. It's the best place because it's had the amazing beach. Big is the same. Si quieres sigan ustedes para que haya un poquito más fluido.
I think, Jose, you wanna? I mean.
And Ray,
Yeah,
you should be able to share if you can.
Oh.
You should have
okay, access. Do you wanna talk about Culebra? I think Culebra is really fun to talk about.
I will give the context like this. People always ask, like, what should we do in Puerto Rico? What's there to do? Aside from winter sports, you can do everything in Puerto Rico.
Perfect.
So those two islands right there is Culebra and Vieques off the coast. There they are.
Yep.
And then show Ponce where Ponce was. Oh, yeah. Let's go to Ponce.
In south.
In the south. Yeah. And there's our island. Or archipelago.
Archipelago. Learned that. I'm so happy I learned that.
Oh, there it is in relation to the world.
So now we all know where Puerto Rico is.
Now, yes.
Okay, so Carlos was talking about, so Puerto Rico has a very, basically all land terrains. We have the national forest. So we have a tropical rainforest, right? It's a national park here called the Yunque, and it's in Rio Grande. He was talking about a dry forest. We all have a dry forest, which is basically desert. So Puerto Rico is divided by a mountain range in the center. And most of the south side of the island is very dry. It barely rains. It does rain, but it's a very dry environment. The north side of the mountain range is more
lush.
Yes, lush. What? Yes. So that's why Carlos was talking about the dry forest. And then, of course, we can't miss out the islands. These islands are they're paradise, small islands next to Puerto Rico. So, yes.
Yeah, so people can just basically hop on a ferry, right? Or a boat and...
Yep. They can also fly from San Juan.
Mm-hmm.
So the ferry ride to...
Take a puddle jumper.
The ferry ride to Culebra is about how long, Carlos? Like 2 hours?
No, in 10 minutes with the flight to the San Juan, but
Okay.
in boat is maybe 2 hours. Yeah,
Okay. So about
and
2 hours.
at the ferries, yeah, is the Ceiba is 2 hours aproximadamente.
Okay.
Yeah, Ceiba.
So if you're gonna go to any of these two islands, we recommend that you go early. Be at the dock maybe at como a las 6, maybe 6 o'clock.
Yeah, this is 4 a.m. Yeah, take the boat. It's 4 a.m. You need the ticket to the Ceiba. Go to Flamenco to Culebra. I live in Culebra. 1 year's half. And I work in Culebra at the rental car. It's amazing. Culebra is so beautiful. It's Cayo Norte, Culebrita. Culebrita is a small island behind Culebra. This is flamenco. Yeah.
Take me there now, please.
Flamenco. You look the tank. The tank is because the military base, ¿cómo se dice?
Base.
Fort base, yeah. Estaba en Culebra.
There used to be a military base in Culebra, and they used to do training there. Same thing in Vieques, the U.S. military.
And the tank got stuck in the sand. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Of course, it's like an Instagram spot now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Just take pictures and.
Perfect.
Flamenco en la playa, pueden decirlo. Flamenco en la playa que más se vende, pero la más bonita es Culebrita. La playa Tortuga de Culebrita.
So the most famous island, the one that's always being promoted and marketed, is Flamenco Island, which is right there in Culebra. But the most beautiful island, even more beautiful than that, is in Culebrita, which is Little Culebra, the tiny island next to it. And that beach is even more spectacular. There are fewer people, and it's really paradise on earth.
Oh.
Thank you.
Well, that's a fantastic.
Are y'all seeing the pictures? I'm just trying to share pictures while y'all. Okay. So
did you take those pictures, Raymond?
No, these are from Google, but since
you could have said so.
No, I mean, I think it's good while we're talking about the places so people could actually see a little bit. And hey, I mean, you can explore the whole island through Google if you want. So I think now you see where Culebrita and Culebra are located. So where else do we travel to? And
yeah, if you want también snorkeling, the best beach is Tamarindo. For snorkeling, en Aguadilla, señal de la parte oeste. Crash boat,
yeah.
La Puntilla. It's the best to ¿cómo se puede decir esto? Snorkeling area.
Yeah. Oh, for snorkeling?
Yeah.
So as you can see, the beaches of the island are just beautiful, and the water is so clean.
Yeah. And Ray, the last time I was there, it was a few years ago, but I don't know if you'll remember, but you were going on a hot air balloon, I think, somewhere. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Where was that?
Yeah. Carlos, is the air balloon still functioning? I don't know if the last storm kind of knocked it down, though. Ayuya. It was in the center of the island. Carlos, ¿sabe un poquito de el globo estático?
El globo que se explotó.
Ah, se explotó.
Sí, se explotó.
Yeah, the hot air balloon popped.
Oh.
Por la tormenta.
The recent storm.
Yeah.
That is a bummer.
But it's a static hot air balloon. You go up and down. You're not going around.
Era una panorámica.
What was this?
Yeah, it's a panoramic hot air balloon that you go up and you see everything around for miles. You can even see the ocean.
Yeah. Hey guys, I have an interesting question here from one of our viewers, Melody. She says that she's being half Puerto Rican and visiting for the first time.
Oh, wow.
The motherland. What would you guys recommend to her? Like, I don't know.
How much time does she have?
I don't know if she's still there, but let's say she has at least like 2 weeks, let's say. What would you recommend to her?
Okay. Do you mind if I start?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So here's the 5 must-dos. So 5 must-dos, you go to Puerto Rico. You have to go to Old San Juan and visit the forts. You have to go to El Yunque and see if there's only 2 things that you do in San Juan, if you only have 3 days, go to El Yunque and go to Old San Juan. That's like the bare minimum. If you have more time, I would also go to do zip lining over in Arecibo, or in Orocovi. To do the center of the island. I would go to a beach on the west coast, whether it's Aguadilla, Rincon, Cabo Rojo, Boquerón, Cabo Rojo. Like go to the west coast beach. That's 4. You go to Ponce and check out Ponce. And then if you can go to Guabate in the center of the island for some crispy, crunchy, typical traditional food and roasted pork, you would get a pretty good like overview of Puerto Rico. Naturally, there's more that you can do. There's also more museums and theaters and all this and that. But Old San Juan, Yunque, Guabate, and Calle. You can go to the zip lining over by Orocovi. Go to Ponce. I think that's 5 right there. But but Carlos has a different. Or what would you say?
The bioluminescent base in Laja is beautiful. Fajardo. Bioluminescent is the base at the night. You have experience to the fish.
Oh, you guys, you've sold her.
I will say this. I will also say, sorry to interrupt, Carlos. I will say know where your family's from and go to that town if they're from the interior. And understand look up, go to that town and check out that area.
Nice. Sorry to interrupt, Carlos. Please.
Sorry, Carlos.
No, don't worry. Pues, ¿cómo era que estaba diciendo?
Bioluminescent Bay.
The bioluminescent base, Utuado, Atunta, is the cave, la cave, ¿cómo se llama esto? La
cueva.
Yeah.
The caverns of Camuy. So there's these underground subterranean caverns. Puerto Rico has the 3rd largest, if not, the 3rd largest and longest subterranean cave system in the world.
¿Qué más?
Yeah, those are good.
Amazing.
Sorry for the misspelling. And
La Salina en Cabo Rojo.
Salinas.
Mm-hmm.
Rojo. So there's so much to explore on the island. If you're here 2 weeks, you could definitely run through all of this.
The coffee plantations of the central western coast.
Yeah, coffee.
Yeah, the bioluminescent bay. I mean, I went to Mosquito Bay and it was a little bit touristy, but still phenomenally beautiful. Such a unique experience.
Yeah. The dry forest.
There's also there's a lot of waterfalls. Definitely. So Puerto Rico has an abundance of waterfalls. Sorry, Josiah, what would you say? The dry forest.
Oh, just the dry forest in Guanica, yeah.
Yes. In San Sebastian, there's also a nice waterfall called Gozolandia,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Gozalandia.
thank you. Sorry,
Yeah.
Gozolandia. So these are some areas we can. I don't know if you all can see it on the screen. Is it
I
there?
think it's showing. Yep, it's showing.
Yes. I mean, you can take a screenshot of that, and you can start searching from there. I mean, I think there's there's pretty much a lot to look at there. Old San Juan is just a historic city. You know, it's beautiful. There's the old structures of the fort, and they
It's a
do
walking
have
museum and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Mhm.
Puerto Rico have 1,125 beach, ¿verdad? 1,125 playas.
125.
Yeah.
1,125 beaches.
Oh my God, I need to go for 1,125 days.
Wow. Yeah. Y todas son hermosas.
That's a plan. I could do that.
And if you're into surfing, then go to the west side of the island, Rincon. You know, if you're really into surfing, you like to get those waves, that's the
Sunset.
spot to go. And the sunset in Rincon on the west side of the
Yeah,
island.
that's so beautiful.
But not only surfing, there's also kiteboarding that's really popular. There's also wind foiling that's really big right now, which is a combination of kite surfing and a hydrofoil. So you have wind foil. There's so many cool water sports in the western part of the island.
Yes.
It's amazing. Guys, you know, Guavate, I only just figured out that I went there too, but I know it more lovingly as Pork Highway. So I was like, Guavate. And then I was like, oh, Pork Highway. Is that what you're talking about? So yeah, it was on Andrew Zimmerman. He went there. He called it
Of
Pork
course,
Highway. It's how I know it. But so speaking of porks and highways, kind of the melding of two, but you know, you can't talk travel without talking food, and you can't talk culture as well. So let's kind of dig in and talk about Puerto Rican food.
So you definitely cannot miss out the rice and beans. Arroz con habichuela or arroz con gandules. Oh,
Yeah, but that's the baseline. That's where you start.
Right. That's where you have to start.
Morcilla.
Uh-huh.
And then from there, you have like.
What is that?
No. So you
Elaborate.
start with rice and beans that are delicious. And then you go from there because you have so many other things that you put on top of it.
Yes.
Like?
Oh, like. Okay, so in Guavate, you can get your roasted pork. Now, this thing, they start cooking it at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Slow roasting on a sunken pit. And then it just gets it really delicious, crispy. And then you have that with rice and beans. You can have that with rice and pigeon peas. You can have that with white rice. Essentially, rice is the thing. But on top of that, you can also have mofongo. And plantains represents the second. The way that potatoes are the main second starch or main starch in North America, plantains are the starch in Puerto Rico. And you have them as, you can have it sweet, you can have it savory, you can have it as a dumpling, you could have it as a bowl with sauce and meat. You could have it as an appetizer or as a main meal. I mean, there's just so many ways that plantain is made. It's extremely versatile. And so
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, I just want to let you know I'm just kind of B-rolling the video that you had sent me earlier. So
oh yeah, that's an
just
example of some of the. That's that's a very famous restaurant in Old San Juan called no es el Bureng. What's the name of it? I can't remember the name right now.
That's okay.
Orujo. Carlos, have you been to Orujo?
What?
Have you been to Orujo restaurant?
Oh, no. Is it in San Juan?
In San Juan, yeah, Old San Juan.
Oh, no. No tenía la
So
oportunidad.
it's a restaurant that focuses on farm to table cooking using all local ingredients to take a new twist on traditional Puerto Rican food, like pastelón, which is Puerto Rican lasagna. You have sweet plantain, ground beef, and sauce, and then cheese, and then it's all baked. So it takes all these different elements that are traditional recipes and traditional ingredients from Puerto Rico, and then they elevate it.
Delicious. All right, what else should we be eating once we're there?
So once you have the main course meal, then you can't miss the, what is it called, the desserts, los postres. Some local
Pan de
postre,
queso.
flan, something called flan de queso. I mean, in English, I'm not sure what is all this called, but
Delicious.
The pumpkin.
Flan. Yeah, it'd be flan, right?
Yeah.
But then
make
drinking
sure.
is also really good too. Like, yes, you have all your good pork, you have all your good. So the coast is going to represent more of the African flavors of Puerto Rico. So you're going to have a lot of more of crab, seafood, rice, coconut dishes, rice and beans everywhere. And as you go into the center of the island, you're going to have more, plantains and root vegetables with, and more pork. So different parts of the island certainly have their recipes and their gastronomy. So if you're in the south, yeah, take advantage of the seafood. Get your fried fish, get your fried snapper, fried grouper, get your conch salad, oysters, and then if you're in the north, get more of your land crab. Land crab is one of the most delicious things we have on the island. We eat that with rice. We eat that with a fritter. You can make little balls like crab cakes that are delicious. So that's huge. And then
mofongo.
And then mofongo, I already talked about how like the mashed plantain, savory plantain, and then you put toppings that are really delicious, whether it's grilled meats or shrimp or a medley of everything. I will say, Puerto Rican food is not light food. It's heavy food. It's delicious. It's not spicy. A lot of people have the misconception that it's spicy, but it's not spicy. It's just full of flavor. And I feel that it's a cornerstone of every culture. It's their food, like you said, Sandy.
Yeah, is there kind of a spice palette to Puerto Rican food, or is it?
There is, yeah. In terms of spice or spices?
Spices, I think. Yeah, or is there a combo that is frequently used that you would?
The basis of Puerto Rican cooking is called sofrito. And sofrito is cilantro, culantro, or recao, which is it's a broad leaf that tastes like cilantro that's kind of spiny. And in the United States, I think it's called, I can't remember the name. I don't remember the name, but it's a broad leaf, spiny cilantro type culantro thing.
Coriander?
No, coriander is cilantro.
Culantro. Yes.
But it's those two things with onion, garlic, and then sweet pepper or bell pepper. And then you mix that together, and that's the foundation of pretty much every Puerto Rican dish.
Awesome. Yos, just so you know, I'm putting up the link to Brands of Puerto Rico, just so.
So if you want to know more about, if you want to try the flavors of Puerto Rico, Brands of Puerto Rico is a homegrown company. They export spice blends. They export sofrito that I just talked about, coffee from Puerto Rico, chocolate from Puerto Rico, all natural local products.
Amazing.
I do have to say the coffee here is on another level. Y'all have to try different coffees from different parts of the island, from Ajuntas, Café Lareño. That coffee it's great. I mean, I used to work in the airport and people would take that coffee out of here like crazy. It's a small green bag. just in case you see it around. And Yaucono, there's so much coffee here. I mean, it's very traditional. Everyone just drinking coffee all the time, after get the day started, and after lunch, you just have your coffee.
And it's so good. Puerto Rican coffee is so good. And I feel like Puerto Rican coffee is not well known because our yields are small. The quality is extremely high. It fetches a pretty high price for those that know Puerto Rican coffee. And but that smell of Puerto Rican coffee or coffee in the morning is one of those comfort blankets that you get in life, at least for me. It's like the sound of a coquí. You know that little frog that makes a so that little frog is synonymous with Puerto Rico. And every night it just lulls you to sleep. And it's such a warm, comforting feeling. And there's a couple of things in Puerto Rico that do that. So it's the sound of the coquí, it's the breeze, it's the smell of salt and when you're near the ocean. It's that coffee in the morning, Puerto Rican coffee in the morning with bread and butter. Like those are just some very specific idiosyncratic things that give you all of the feels being in Puerto Rico.
It's amazing. I've got the feels.
Well, I mean, Sandy, you came here a while back, right?
Yeah.
How long were you here for like
How long ago? I think it was.
No. How long was your stay?
I think it was
a couple
about
times though, Sandy.
Yeah, I think it was about 10 days. That was my first time there though. But yeah, about 10 days, 2 weeks. I don't know. But it was I could have stayed so much longer. I know I just kind of only scratched the surface. So yeah. But Vieques was an amazing experience. It was it was just so beautiful, and the people and the food was amazing. It was just knocked me off my feet. So and I loved San Juan. I loved the old town. I think I love places that transport you, and Old Town San Juan has that. It still has, and then we went. I think we started in Old Town, and then we ended in the more modern part at the end of our trip, and it was just not the same. I could do without kind of the Marriotts and those big kind of modern condos and stuff. Like the beaches are nice, but there was just something, and that bar with the shot thing, Ray, that's like.
Yeah, so you still really tells you what to drink. Huh?
La vergüenza.
La vergüenza.
The name of that bar is called Shame.
Oh, that sounds about right then.
Yes. Yeah. So
perfect.
Yeah. There's when you come to Puerto Rico, you need to get out of the hotels. I mean, they're great to stay in, right? And not taking it away from them, but there's so many activities, walk around. There's manatees, you can, in their natural habitat. You can go kayaking and all of a sudden a manatee pops out of the water next to you.
Wild.
Yeah, just right there in Old San Juan, in the Condado area, there's a lagoon there. There's the bioluminescent bays, like Carlos said. There's the bioluminescent bay in Lajas, which is one. We have one in Fajardos, and there's one in Vieques. Vieques is the most rich one, I think, right, Carlos? El más rico de Vieques.
No, el de Lajas.
El de Lajas. But the one in Lajas is the richest one in population. But you definitely have to go visit those areas. You can also go horseback riding. There's so much adventure to be done here. You will not get bored. And you just have to explore it. You have to explore the island. We have rainforest, we have rivers, we have deserts, forests, the beaches all over the island. You can skydive. There's skydiving. You can just see that beautiful view of the whole island just from hundreds of feet of the sky. I mean, like, I don't know if any of you done skydiving, but it's a good place to overcome your fear of heights. So there's just so much. Parasailing. it's just a rich island, and the historic part is it's just full of history. The island,
Yeah.
all around
And
the island. It's not only Old San Juan, but Ponce, the south, the south side of the island is very rich. There's a lot of art, and a lot of famous artists that come from this island, painters, and a lot of famous writers. So if you're into history and you're more into what's the deep culture of, like, if you like going to museums, there's great museums here also. So, basically it's a very wide, broad spectrum where you could choose what you like. If you like to party, you can go party. If you like just to relax, there's plenty of places to relax. Just the forest if you want to just get some cool air. If you want to get a suntan and burn yourself and just get cooked in the sun, well, perfect. There's plenty of sun here. You could, it's really hot sometimes. So there's the beaches, and there's just so much. It's a great variety of things to do here. You won't get bored. The only way you're gonna get bored is just staying locked inside and not going out. So just explore the island, and meet
Yeah.
people. I think meeting people is the best thing you can do, because they'll probably show you more than what just the textbooks tell you, or Google, basically. So be open to meeting people.
Agreed. I can not agree with you more. I think the whole experience of being there was highlighted for me because I was able to have you there and have locals that were so welcoming and sharing in their culture. And I guess, that's a lot of places that we go, but we don't always take advantage of it, right, as travelers. So it's always just a good reminder. And Puerto Ricans are so friendly, and so proud of where they are, of their heritage. We have one question here from a viewer. I just wanted to know a little bit more about the indigenous culture, and just wondering, I guess we talked about it earlier, as far as the history and everything, but is there opportunity? I don't know if you guys know, for people, if they're interested in learning more, or when they go to Puerto Rico, if they can visit or...
Yeah, that's a great question, Sandy. So there's archaeological parks that are still there. There are ceremonial parks that have petroglyphs of the original Taínos that lived there. There's also communities that are now becoming more active in expressing the Taíno culture with song, dance, and food. So there's a huge renaissance right now of regaining the lost knowledge of the original inhabitants of Puerto Rico, los Taínos. And there are places that you can go and see and learn more about their way of life. There's now books being written about their language and how that is being reconstructed. There's a huge, now with DNA testing, everyone's getting DNA testing, everyone finding out that they have 10% or whatever percentage of Taino blood. So there's this, I feel like, a renaissance of awareness and consciousness of a past that hasn't really been very well known. And that's starting to become significantly more celebrated. So not only do we have historical parks and museums and places that have artifacts and the remains of a culture that once lived there, but I feel that in the culture itself, we have now Facebook groups that have un areito tradicional, which is a traditional native Taino gathering with music and chanting, similar to what a North American powwow would be. An areito is in Puerto Rico, and that level of level of consciousness is really exciting. So if you want to learn more about the traditional indigenous people of Puerto Rico, lots of places to do that. In some of the caves in the north still have etched petroglyphs of Taino people that live there, learning about los semis, which are the traditional gods of Puerto Rico that were carved in stone. And it's a fascinating aspect of our culture. It's the oldest aspect of our culture, and we're very fortunate to still have places that we can visit and see what that life could have been like so many years ago.
Phenomenal. Great. I think we've got that one covered. And I wanted to touch base with Carlos because Carlos, do you run like a travel company then?
Yeah, I have
So
a
can
travel agency.
okay.
Because here in Puerto Rico, I work to the alternative to tourism,
Tourism.
tourism alternativo. Yeah, alternative tourism is about uh, it's not centered tourism. It's not about a hotel. It's about the natural expedition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, go to the visit to the middle of the island, visit the other place. It's not about San Juan. It's about the island. You know, uh, visitar los pueblos, visitar other drivers que no sean solamente los yunques.
So yeah, so Carlos, allow me to help out if you want. It's so there's the top list of the five, right? Old San Juan, Yunque, you have all those places that everyone usually goes. What Carlos does is Red Beak takes people and give them a more, not a more authentic experience, because everywhere in Puerto Rico is going to be authentic, but a more closer experience of what Puerto Rican culture is in the center of the island, which represents the heart of who we are. So we'll go to a small town that is in the heart of coffee region, for example, or off the beaten path farm that produces these heirloom tomatoes or heirloom root vegetables, or we'll understand more of the coffee trade or the secret waterfall, or really go just places that the average tourist book is not going to have, but it's still going to be incredibly enriching as an experience because it's a very authentic part of the island that's not going to be full of tourists. It's not going to be overdeveloped. And so we want people to understand that Puerto Rico, yes, there's something for everybody. But if you really want a real taste of our culture and who we are, I feel what Carlos is saying is that Red Beak can give those types of experiences that we all seek when we travel abroad.
Red Beak
Thank you.
trips.
That is beautiful. Everyone, I've put the link, the Facebook group page in the comments if you're interested or want to reach out to Carlos for it, any future travel.
I appreciate
Yeah, I think in the light of what we're experiencing now with COVID, but people still itching to travel, I see a movement there where people are looking maybe for smaller, more local, more authentic experiences, right? So avoiding the bigger crowds and going to places maybe a little bit more off the beaten path and, in smaller groups and a little bit more intimacy. So I think there's something, and there's always something there, right? That, of course, it's great to see the bigger sites, but to have the experience of that local experience and the more intimate experience, I think has a truer essence of culture.
Yeah,
at times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's just meeting up with a few friends and going to an abuela's house who's teaching how to make pasteles, which is a traditional tamale style traditional food that we have at Christmas. Like just learning a traditional dish or a typical dish or something local with friends in a small environment, I think is so enriching as an experience. And not to knock a beach holiday, like again, I'll say like going to the beach is great, but I feel like there's a tourist and there's a traveler, and I feel like we're all very much a community of travelers. And when you travel, you really do peel back those onion layers and see the essence of a culture. And I feel that that's what you and I are very much that way.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the viewers are as well.
Yeah, and I think what's amazing about Puerto Rico and what you guys have revealed to a lot of people today is that it has all of those elements, right? So beyond, your beach vacation, you can get a very enriching cultural experience and a very adventurous nature experience, and so many, you know, other things that go with Puerto Rican culture outside. Of course, there's music, but there's art, there's literature, so much more that's impactful. So amazing stuff. Thank you very much, you guys, for sharing. Any kind of final thoughts? Carlos, is there anything that you would, your number one thing that you would recommend to people if you had to choose one place or dish or anything, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Wow. ¿Qué puedo decir?
Una cosa que recomendaría.
Sí, sí, pero
Maybe it's
estoy
too
pensando.
hard for one. You can say more than one if you want to.
Oh, wow.
It's tough. It's
It's
very
just-
tough.
Yeah. Wow. This my this for me.
¿Cuál es tu lugar favorito, Carlos?
We can come
Mucho.
back to you, Carlos, if you want to think about it.
Piensa lo mismo.
Maybe it's I like the colony area in the ocean one. Is this for me? It's the architecture is so beautiful. No me canso. I'm not tired for seeing the architecture. Sí, lo dije bien.
He never gets tired of seeing the architecture in Old San Juan.
It's beautiful. It's me lleva a otra época.
It takes him back to a different,
Yeah.
a different.
Okay,
era.
I'm gonna give everybody
Like a
era.
different
here's the
era,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
One thing, parting thing of Puerto Rico, for me, is you wake up at dawn and go to the fort of El Morro in Old San Juan to watch the sunrise.
Oh.
So before the sun even gets there, you're there. Bring a blanket and then just watch the sunrise illuminate the entire old city. Once you're done with that, you go have a coffee, a bombonera with a pressed butter Mallorca, which is, for lack of a better word, a sweet bun with butter. And you have that with coffee after watching the sunset. The city will still be asleep. You can still have a nice, beautiful coffee in the morning. And that to me is the perfect one thing. It's not a beach, but you'll see the ocean and you kind of have everything in a perfect moment.
Wait, I'm a little bit in awe, but I'm also a little bit angry that you didn't tell me that when I went there. I'm like, what? Now I
Don't blame
have
me,
to go
blame
back.
Raymond.
Oh, I blame both of you. I entrusted my trip, but that's an amazing tip that you cannot Google. So thank you for that. Ray, is there anything, what would you like people to take away about Puerto Rico that they might not have before? Like, what is a good takeaway for them?
I think Puerto Rico and its inhabitants, its people, allow you to, if you come to visit, it allows you to open up and connect with society, connect with others. You know, we're very welcoming for the most part, you know, and we're very sharing. And we just want people to really get the most out of our island, period. You know, there's so much that this island has to offer. And when someone comes traveling and we know, let's say we're in Old San Juan, which is basically the capital. There's also there's flights that come in from on the west side of the island, Aguadilla, also in Ponce. But the main airport is from Old San Juan, the capital on the north. And we always get excited when, for the most part, and I don't only speak for myself, I know I can speak for many Puerto Ricans, is that when we meet someone that comes from a different country, whether it's from the other side of the world, Europe or the United States or anything, Spain, Australia, I've met Australians here before too. And we just get excited to just share everything we got to offer. You know, we got excited to share about the food. We want them to have the best time. So I think the most you can get out of this place is just be open to hearing hearing suggestions on what to do in the island. You know, just explore, you know, have fun, talk to people, you know, and try food, try all these activities, and visit the beaches, visit the rainforest. Just explore the island, and just take away that peacefulness with you. And if you're looking for party, don't worry, there'll be a plenty of that too. I mean, of course, considering now the situation, that's a little held back, but hopefully things will get a lot better. And trust me, when things do, this island's gonna be partying like crazy for a very good time, because everyone's so eager just to go back out, and you know, it's gonna be a whole year party, I think. But just take away the culture with you back home, and you know, everything about the island is just so humble and enriching. So yeah.
Phenomenal. Thank you. And yes, what's the first thing you do when you go back?
I take a deep breath and I smell the air. Seriously, every time. Like that blast of heat and humidity, and I just like,
I do that.
I'm home. And then I go eat something.
What's the first thing what do you crave? What are you craving
Oh,
now?
the first thing I eat, it's usually una empanadilla. Empanadilla is like a meat pie.
Yeah. Amazing.
Or un bacalaíto frito, which is like a cod fritter. Something fried. I always need something fried. Give me the fried food. The moment I step off the plane, that's what I usually get.
Amazing. Perfect. All right, guys. I think our time is up, but it was an amazing time. I felt like I was in Puerto Rico. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Carlos, Ray, Yos,
Thank you,
and thank you to everyone watching. I hope you found this valuable, and I hope that you take the opportunity to go to Puerto Rico whenever
Come to
you get the
Puerto
chance.
Rico!
Yay! All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Bye,
All right,
guys.
take care.
You do. Bye.